You said that Snoop has disrespected Tupac more than a lot of his enemies and so forth. Do you think that there's really animosity between these two? Well, I mean,
between
Pac
him,
is obviously gone.
I think so.
Between Snoop and Tupac?
I think so, from the simple fact of the words that come out of his mouth. And I'm just like, for example, you got people who don't like Pac. They can say whatever they want, that's their opinion. But a friend, like, sneak dissing them is what I really don't understand. Like, for example, the whole situation with Nas, the thing in the park, where Snoop said, I'm a gang member. You know, Pac walked by and said, yeah, I just checked him or something like that. And Snoop said, I looked at him like, no, Nas gave you a pass.
I was right there, and I'm seeing him and I'm knowing, because I'm a gangbang. I'm seeing with their hands on their guns. Pac said, yeah, I punked that. And my mind, I was like, nah, he let us slide.
That wasn't true. So I'm starting to think, like, why are you making up these stories about Pac? What wasn't true? And then, if I'm not mistaken, I can't say it word by word, but there was an interview a long time ago that he did with Jada Pinkett and her mother and their daughter. They had like a podcast show at one particular time. And I remember, you know, Jada said something like, I didn't really like, Snoop, how you was calling the woman out of their names in your raps. And Snoop replied, it's not word by word, but he replied saying something similar like, yeah, I was trying to change and, you know, and not speak bad about women until Pac came to death row and like brought me back.
So it's kind of hard to like take those words out of the equation when I got to do shows that people love that song. And even me and Pac got into it because he was like, he wanted me to stay gangster. And I was like, cuz, I got a baby on the way.
Yes.
I just beat a murder case. I have a lot to live for.
Right.
He had no kids.
So it seemed like he was sneak dissing them. Look it up, bro. You know what I mean? Like,
I believe you're talking about Red Table Talk.
Yes. So when I start seeing that, I'm like, something is not adding up. Because one, if that's your boy, you know what I mean? And he's dead, even if you see negative things about him, you should leave that alone. Because he's not even here to defend himself. And he did some other stuff. And so I just always look at it like he would praise him, but then diss him. And that's like the oldest, corniest tactics ever that we used to do in the hood. Like, it's corny.
Snoop Dogg is one of the biggest liars in the hip hop industry. Now I'm about to give you one of the funniest examples you ever gonna hear, bruh. As we all know, Snoop Dogg was very closely affiliated with Tupac for the end of Tupac's career, right? Well, according to him, there was a certain situation where they ran into a certain somebody in New York. Now, mind you, this is during the heat of the East Coast versus West Coast stuff. As somebody they ran into is Nas. This is how Snoop tells the story. Snoop says that Nas ran up on Tupac and some Death Row members, and that Nas was super deep, way deeper than Tupac was. And Tupac started getting in his face and talking trash to Nas, like, hey, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. And Nas was just like, nah, man, you good, man, don't worry about it, boom, boom. Like, it was super peaceful and super chill, right? You know what's crazy about that, bruh? Nas does a rebuttal video where he says Snoop wasn't even there. Also, other outlaw members who were close to Tupac said that Snoop Dogg was not there. He was never there. So what I'm trying to figure out is, with all the people that was there, what made Snoop Dogg think he was gonna get away with telling a false story? Like, nobody was gonna say that.
Snoop told the story a few times, but he had it wrong a little bit. He had said that Pac stepped to me.
But it wasn't like Snoop said.
Yeah, that's crazy to me, man. So Snoop, he didn't see Tupac and Nas interact at all.
I don't remember Snoop being there. Definitely. I don't remember Snoop being there at all.
That's what you should need to keep your name. Snoop lying, because you always lying.
And Pac had seen Nas in the park, and him and Nas had words, but Nas didn't want none. Pac is in this here telling him, I made a song dissing you, Jay-Z, Biggie, and I ain't got no problem with you, Pac. All right.
You know, when he got into it with Nas or whatever, and they said that they didn't see Snoop. So I don't know, man. I'm confused, man. Was Snoop there?
To be honest, bro, I don't recall Snoop being there. And the situation didn't go down nothing the way Snoop said it. You know, Pac wasn't cursing out Nas. None of that happened, bro. It was a mutual respect thing. When Pac and Nas met each other, it was nobody talking disrespect from both sides. But Pac and Nas handled it like real gentlemen, real, you know what I mean? Real respectful. It wasn't like Snoop said that Pac was like, to Nas, I do this and do it. It was none of that. And then Pac literally told him, he said, look, I got songs dissing you, When I go back to LA, I'm going to remove every verse that I mentioned your name in. But Pac couldn't do it because he passed away. So it definitely wasn't the way Snoop said it. Once again, I don't know why he keep putting his spin on it. You know what I mean? It's you know, I wish somebody can ask him that, like, bro, you said this, but other people, why are you putting that spin on it?
Tupac had a problem with Nas.
They had a problem, but they worked it out that day.
Okay.
But he turned to Suge and told him, we're going to take that verse off where I just Nas on Against All Odds.
They tried to get me to not like Puffy and Biggie while we was in the middle of the Death Row Bad Boy feud. And I made a choice that I had no issues with them. I said I'd do a song. I want to do a song with them niggas. That's how I ended. I said I ain't got no issues with Puffy and Biggie. I want to do a song with them niggas.
Middle of the war.
In New York.
In New York.
On Hot 97.
Why the fuck did you say that?
Because that's how I felt. I respected their music. They shit sounded good. It felt good.
Why were you the only one?
I wasn't brainwashed.
You know what? You know what? There was corrupt. There was Daz on the law.
They didn't have the manpower to say what I said. I could test the system because I built the system. And I wasn't trying to test the system. I was just trying to put some peace in the air because I was like, you know what? Maybe if I say this shit that I really feel, maybe they'll say, you know what? It ain't that bad. And then you speed the clock up and find out that Biggie didn't have nothing to do with Tupac getting shot.
Nah, not at all. Not at all.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, we was in Red Hook, Brooklyn. We was shooting a video for New York, New York. And that's the scene that we on the stairs and shooting when it was snowing. And then we went to the trailer, you know, we smoking in there. And all of a sudden, a window pop. And some shit shatter. But motherfuckers are still partying in there, you know what I'm saying? Next thing I know, something shatter again. Pop, pop. You know, the street instincts kick in. Get on the floor. You know what I'm saying? And then they like security running there, say, where's Snoop at? And everybody say nothing because, you know, we learn not to say nothing in case a nigga come in there want to shoot. And once he let us know it was Death Row Security, Frank, you know, Frank from Tupac, we, niggas get up and get the fuck up out of there. Video over with. Now we go to LA and start kicking the buildings over. You know what I mean? Because Funk Master Flex and Biggie got on the radio and just told them, this is where them niggas at. That's the address. That's where they at, Times Square, represent New York. It was over with then.
Out at California, 3-4 weeks, and Snoop never saw him, but it was a whole lot of love. Come on, man.
Through Snoop, doggy, doggy, dog. Snoop lying. That's what you should need to keep your name. Snoop lying, because you always lying.
Snoop wasn't even next to us when that happened. You know what I'm saying? Like, he bugging. He knew damn well it wasn't like that. So
when Snoop Dogg starts spinning one of his wild stories, everybody leans in. It could be about Tupac, Biggie, or some random night that sounds straight out of a movie, but people are hooked. The twist? Insiders claim a lot of these tales are flat out made up. Over the years, Uncle Snoop has been called out again and again for dropping stories that feel exaggerated, questionable, or just plain unbelievable. And you know what they say. There are always three sides to every story. There's always three sides to every story. One person's side, the other person's side, and the messy truth hiding somewhere in the middle. Sometimes when two people go through something, a third person jumps in to tell it straight. But if that third person wasn't even there, or only caught bits and pieces, their version can be way off.
Then I got kicked off of Death Row again from Snoop. He did a show and didn't take me, so I figured, like, why you know what's going on? He's just like, you ain't sign your catalog over to me. And I'm like, I'm keeping it, you know what I'm saying? It's worth a lot. He owned the label, but I own the publishing.
Jimmy and Dre owns that, and that's gonna be coming out real soon. They just don't want their names because they know Suge would really be on there. If it comes out, who really owns Death Row, y'all?
How the f you controlling Death Row? Tell everyone. Is that
I got it, Nori's mine now, right? So what I didn't want to do, I didn't want to get Death Row Records and make it what it was, to where now we making this brand what it's supposed to be. I live this show. This Death Row, I live it. That's why if you look out now, there's so many people wearing Death Row. You see it everywhere now.
No. So what happened? These guys come to you and say,
somebody I know knew who had it and put me in touch with the guys that had it. And
Snoop keep making this claim that he owns Death Row. And I keep telling y'all that he's just the face. So Snoop, so you can shut up and stop and come out and clarify this? Because I got stuff. I got paperwork. I got emails. I got people all over the place. I just want you to respond to this, Snoop, so you can stop saying you own Death Row. Y'all gonna get me to expose all of this, show all the emails to Suge. Y'all need to stop talking that because Snoop, you're just the face of the logo Death Row. But I got information and I can prove just by an email that Dre chimed in when they were trying to give him $60,000 to license one of the songs in The Power. And Dre stepped in and shot that down. Not you, Snoop. Dre did.
How was that energy like leading up to Tupac's death? Because where was you at like when you got that call?
The cold shit about it is I called Snoop. I said, Snoop. I said, because I was at that time I was single. The girl I was with, I had just broke up with her. And so I had my house, you know, I had a house to myself. Like, shit, nigga, I'm a bachelor, nigga. What's up, Snoop? Come over. I heard a horn, bang, 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 honking in front of my house. So I looked out the house, excuse me, y'all. I looked out the house and Snoop was outside in a white motherfucking Rolls Royce with the peanut butter inside. It was clean with the top down. I was like, nigga, that's your shit? He was like, yeah, nigga, that's my shit. And he pulled up. He surprised me.
I said peanut butter interior in a rhyme and just went, I invite your shit. Go ahead.
He straight surprised me. He came to fuck with me for the fight instead of going to Vegas.
So he never went to Vegas?
He never went to Vegas. He didn't go off top. So we watched the fight. We doing everything, watching the fight, having a good time. We was hanging out, you know, some females and shit around. They was hanging out, everybody chilling and just having a good time, you know, just, and then he got a, you know, just like a gang of homies, gang of homegirls, and then it's like, then he had this, the Nextel back then, remember the motherfucker? Yeah. I don't know what kind of Nextel he had, but he had, the motherfucker could go, that whatever it was hitting him all the way from what was going on from Vegas. So they was like, we could hear the shit, and then he started getting calls and shit, and they was telling him that Tupac got shot and da-da-da-da-da. So Snoop, I kicked everybody out. Get the fuck out of here, everybody, get out of here. And then he took off. That's when he went to Vegas.
For some weird reason, Warren G tells the story how Snoop had a walkie-talkie. Okay. And he could hear what was going on in Vegas the night Pac and them got shot. He told that story on Drink Champs. Not only that, Daz, Corrupt, Badass, all tell the story how Snoop told everybody, we not going to Vegas. Nate Dogg too. Nobody go Vegas, right? They didn't tell Suge and them they wasn't going to Vegas. Snoop is telling his crew, we not going to Vegas. Nate Dogg like, F you, dog, I'm going. He like, yo, well, be careful, don't go. Right? He wound up going, right? But Snoop told everybody not to go. Why?
Warren G apparently told Suge exactly what happened.
Snoop comes in, according to Warren G, and he got this big walkie-talkie. They start hearing the gunshots. When we getting shot, Snoop listening to it in real time. Pow, 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 all over the radio. That's when he tell him, hey, I gotta go. They just killed Tupac and shot Suge. How would you know? Nobody sat there on the radio, you just heard the shots.
Suge also alleges that Reggie Wright and Michael Moore, both members of Death Row security staff, bragged on the radio that they got him. But Snoop and Diddy have been working together with the Southside Crips to pull off the Tupac hit.
TPD says that Puffy and them approached them and gave them money. Well, we do know money was paid out.
Will Diddy or Snoop Dogg ever be forced to answer for their alleged involvement in Pac's assassination? Snoop denied the allegations on social media by calling Suge Knight jealous. Let's not forget that Snoop Dogg and Diddy have been pictured together numerous times in the decades since Tupac's death, including at Diddy's star-studded blowout 50th birthday party. Now that Suge Knight has told his side of the story, Snoop and Diddy's well-documented friendship seems like it might have a dark side to it. And as the dominoes in Diddy's land continue to fall, it's only a matter of time before we find out more details about what really happened that night in Vegas.
You said that none of the artists on Death Row came to visit Tupac while he was in the hospital.
None of them. And it made me sick to hear them say that, oh, they were there.
So I go in the room with him, and he laid up, and I just get right on the side of his head and just start talking to him in his ear, just talking to him.
If Snoop's going around saying he went to the hospital and had a conversation with Pac, that is a flat-out lie. Snoop and Tupac was not on great terms. Every person went to go visit Pac. It's pictures. It's footage. No matter who went, he did not talk to Pac. He didn't have a conversation with Pac.
But I went there like, what's up, man? I know he couldn't hear me, but my spirit was talking to him. What's up, my nigga? What's happening? I was talking to his spirit. I want to apologize for making you mad the other day.
We put out 2 unreleased Tupac albums. Why you don't have a verse on none of those songs? Because that's a big deal. If you love the man like you say you do. You've been treating that man like an outsider. Make me a believer. I wish it's not true that you didn't have, your hands weren't involved with the assassination of Tupac.
I had a relationship with Big, right? Before that incident?
Yeah, most definitely. And, you know, right before he died, Tupac had died, and right before Biggie had died, Mace, Lil Caesar, and B.I.G. had called me to the studio. Remember, Tupac is already dead. Everybody's feuding. But we still cool because they called me to the studio to serve them some weed. And that's when they was making that song, Bricks and Hoes and Ones and Lows. You know, that one right there with Too Short. I'm like, damn, you know, Biggie was in there. And I didn't even sell him no weed. I just gave him the 2 ounces. You know what I'm saying? And me and C's, we talk about that, you know what I'm saying? But we was cool. Because I was going to have Puffy mix the Dog Pound album, and then Suge came and like, nah, I didn't even know what was going on, you know what I'm saying? But I knew it was some tension going on, but you can see, because every time we try to hang with him and all that, Suge Knight would come into play. But this is before they success too. This is before Biggie's success too. So, you know, and then we on stage freestyling. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I seen that.
Yeah, that was in our younger days. That was before we was even 22 years old.
What was you thinking when Big did come out to LA so soon after Pac got killed?
That was a little bold. I wouldn't be out of New York. You know, you just gotta learn gang culture and street culture, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know what Puffy was thinking. You know what I mean? So rest in peace, B.I.G., man, you know. We don't know who to blame.
Yeah, I know Puffy, when he was in L.A., he did the Steve Harvey show with Snoop, right?
I mean, you know, just them two getting together for peace and, you know, whatever they thought was right at that time, you know. But, you know, but the war was still going on as far as street, because Tupac died and everybody in their feelings. You know, and we from Long Beach, so we not in that mix. You know what I'm saying? We just looking at the mix. You know what I'm saying? Because when Tupac died, me, Badass, was in the studio. And when Biggie died, I was at home watching it on the news. Like, damn. You know, like when Doughboy found out his brother was killed, when they drive by, you like, damn. You know, like one of those.
Why didn't y'all go to Vegas for the Tyson fight?
I mean, we went out there last time and did the same thing, so I just felt like I didn't want to go. You know, we went out there when Tupac got out of jail for the 662 release, but Snoop couldn't go because he was on house arrest, I think. And so we felt like we didn't want to go at that time, and that was my reason.
A bad boy artist working with a death row artist, or aftermath artists. Like when we was up here, I don't give my seat up to nobody. Maybe Michael Irvin, because he's up here. But I let Snoop sit in the seat because I thought the picture of Snoop and Mace at this desk for our brand was just big. I sat in the seat to cheer him because people don't know the history and people don't know what actually.
Yeah, you're not supposed to ever see them together.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That's why I don't give my seat up. But that was, to me, that's what I saw when I was looking at it. You know what I'm saying?
And if you look back at that show, I didn't say much, right? So a little backstory. When we did this show in LA at No Way Out, I didn't come out. Because Dre and Snoop was up there. So in my mind, psychologically, it was like, yo, what is niggas doing?
Right.
They're like, yo, Mace ain't coming out. Mace said he's not coming out. If you go back and look at the show, I didn't come out, Killer. I mean, you know how I am.
Yeah, but what show are you referring to?
In the No Way Out, not the No Way Out, the reunion.
A week before the album comes out, what happened? Snoop was on trial for murder. 1 week the shooting happened. A week later, they come out with what? Murder Was a Case. The song.
You're right.
Okay. Now let's look at the marketing. Has nothing to do with Snoop. It's just the reality. It's just the truth is what it is. Let's look at the marketing. Gangster rapper. Right? What would validate a gangster rapper more than going through a murder trial? Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So what would validate it more? And then now you can attach that to this star who they are saying allegedly actually did it. Murder was a case that they gave me. Right? Then what did Snoop say? I'm innocent. I'm innocent. You remember that at the award show? Look it up.
Yeah, I remember that.
That song was done way before. It was a song on the album. Had nothing to do with the murder case, but God allowed it for the murder case. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it had nothing to do with that. That song was already done. Before the shooting had ever happened, it was a song that was on his album. So now you have all of the people, everybody in the world, looking like Snoop did this. When you find out that it was his bodyguard that actually protected him, and it was righteous, and God forbid that it was legal and it was right. Come on, man. Nah, what the media wanted, right? They wanted it to be gang related. They wanted it to be something else. They didn't want me to speak. They didn't want me to be professional. They didn't want me to be a professional bodyguard. They didn't want that. They want me to be something else. However, it was the truth that set us free.
So Nate Dogg's son did an interview, and during this interview, he revealed that Nate Dogg's brother and his mother is accusing Snoop Dogg of essentially stealing and hiding and withholding certain things from them.
So there's a report that you have 500 Nate Dogg's songs.
Yeah, there was a report that Snoop had that.
Yeah?
There was something out that Snoop had my pop's masters.
Nate Dogg died in 2011. He had complications from a stroke, but he left behind a pretty decent catalog. He was signed to death row for the majority of his career. Nate Dogg is a West Coast legend, but he also had a sneaky, successful mainstream career, right? He had a #1 song with 50 Cent. He had 3 top 10 hits. He had 18 songs on the top 100. So this is a pretty decent catalog that would feed your family for some time, right, after you pass away. But according to Nate Dogg's family, they have been having a tough time profiting, monetizing, eating off his catalog and his estate due to a lot of troubles they've been having.
Supposedly Snoop, got the okay from my grandma to go to her house and get my pop's masters. She, pretty much showed him where the masters were, however this occurred, and he left with the masters.
Grandma's saying, oh yeah, baby, the things was here, but then Snoop came and got it. Whole time the son is like, nah, man, I don't know. Even during this interview, I don't know if Snoop did it, man. Like my uncle and my grandma standing by, but I don't know. Me and Snoop still cool.
So, and what Snoop has always told me is, he don't got it and he don't know you, and he would never do something like that. But my thing is, it's like, I at least would want to know, like, you do got it and it's safe, maybe, you know? Because my uncle was over here, like, wilding. Like, my uncle got, alcoholic, nigga got a drinking problem, but the nigga get drunk and be ready to risk it all over this shit. You feel me? Somebody gonna have to answer once that shit get to the LOC. We gonna start sending, you know, certain things out to where it's like, we gonna at least need a proper answer as to if you got something or if you don't. You know, no matter who it is.
Listen, man, grandmama go to church every Sunday, man. Grandmama ain't lying on Snoop, man. But this is a shame, man. You know, to see what's happening to Nate Dogg is a shame. Nate Dogg is a legend.
You know, when I first came home, you know, Snoop Dogg wrote a letter to my judge.
No.
He said, isn't 6ix9ine not supposed to be trolling under his supervised release? Remember when he, hey, listen, remember when I—
Why though?
Watch. When I got released, right, Snoop Dogg said something. And doing to you, Snoop Dogg said something. Suge Knight called academics, and academics gave him my number.
Damn.
Suge Knight was like, yo, Snoop Dogg told, like, pull it up on YouTube. But Suge Knight says Snoop Dogg tell. And watch, right? So he's like, yo, his mom, Snoop Dogg's mom or Snoop Dogg's team writes letters to the warden every year saying that you know, Suge shouldn't be released. This is coming from Suge Knight's mouth, bro. Like, pull it up. Put Suge Knight, Snoop Dogg rap. And this is coming from Suge Knight, somebody who was, it's like, Suge Knight was the owner of Death Row, right? Like the manager of Death Row.
Legend. If there's Suge Knight in prison about Snoop Dogg, a rat is the lowest you can go.
Person who owned Death Row, person who people feared, person who used to hang niggas off a balcony in LA, right? Saying that Snoop Dogg's a rat, but everybody, because it's their favorite uncle, it's their favorite OG, it's like, nah, we don't want to believe it. No, don't. It's like telling a little kid that Santa Claus not real, right? They go like this. No, it's real. He comes down the chimney. People hate the truth.
Working it out, you know what I'm saying? I'm not on death row. Corrupt is on death row.
Okay. Oh, so you guys, so he's on death row by himself, and then you are independent.
Yeah.
And then what about the group?
We still together. We got shows together.
No, I'm saying the group on death row. Because wasn't the album coming out on death row?
Yeah, the album came out on death row.
Okay.
And then I got kicked off of death row again. From Snoop. Got into it. Me and Snoop, you know, that's my cousin. You know, he get into it all the time. He kicked me off. So, you know, I ain't going back this time.
Yeah, you ain't going back? So, because obviously you guys are related. So, what is that conversation like? Because you're like, yo, fuck you, no, fuck you. And then you guys still got to talk later on.
You know, he did a show and didn't take me. So I figured, like, why you know, what's going on? He's just like, you ain't sign your catalog over to me. And I'm like, I'm keeping it. You know what I'm saying? It's worth a lot.
Okay.
So, you know, that's what it's about, you know, because, like, he owned the label, but I own the publishing.
And that is valuable.
Yeah, that's more valuable than the ownership.
Let me tell y'all a true story, B. So, boom, watch this video to the end. Really, Snoop? You out here lying on Pac's name, saying that he was scared when he was locked up? TikTok, this is for entertainment purposes only. Let's go.
Was Tupac having issues when he was in prison? Because I know Snoop, he always say that he was hearing bad things.
Come
so
on.
he told Suge Knight to get him out. And I just did an interview with Corrupt, and he was saying the same thing.
That definitely, you know, Corrupt, my man, I like him, but that's a false narrative that I think Snoop was pushing.
Facts.
You know what I mean? Pac, for a fact, he wasn't really, he had a lot of, like, he used to send us pictures, and his pictures on the internet where he was taking pictures with New York dudes up in Clinton, like, these the homies.
Playing with me, son. You out here hating on Pac, Snoop? Because we all knew if he was alive, you wouldn't say that to his face. Rest in peace, Tupac. Stop playing with me, son. Snoop Dogg, you earthworm Jim looking. Let's get into this, man.
He never hating on Pac, and you can just listen to their interviews, but they come off like they friends. You know what I mean? They like, oh nah, you know, I had to tell Suge to get him out because he was getting punked in Clinton, and I'm like, oh, come on, bro. We all know that what you trying to do. You trying to hate on the down low, you know what I mean? But trying to pretend you know what I mean? Like very clever hating going on. You know what I mean?
Stop playing with me, son. Napoleon is telling the truth. He was running with Pac. That was Pac's mans. You was only cool with Pac because you was on the same label as Pac. Stop playing with me, son. We all knew you was mad at him because your albums and your music couldn't even stand a chance against Tupac's music. Let's not forget that. Tupac's albums that dropped, it will still be better than any album that you dropped till this day. Stop playing with me, son. And you got the nerve to talk about him and saying that he was scared in prison? Let's get back into this, man.
Nas almost got him, man.
Come on.
Gangbanger. You know, if Nas would have caught him slipping, he would have been washed. Like all this hate and stuff. You know what I mean? So what they doing is that, you know, because Pac is not here to speak and refute these things, so they doing it in a way where it's not straight hate.
Facts.
Like, so majority of the people ain't gonna look at it as them being haters, but people like us, we know where that's coming from.
Play with me, son. Let's not forget Tupac is from East Harlem, New York City. That's why you didn't like him, Snoop, because he was from the East Side and he went over to the West Side and took over the West Coast. Stop playing with me, son. It's what we do. New York City in the building. Don't play with me, Snoop Dogg. If I ever see Snoop Dogg outside and I confront him like, yo, why you was saying he was scared of jail and he swings on me?
There you have it. It seems like there is a lot of proof of Snoop lying. The sad thing is Snoop built the image of being everyone's favorite uncle and being a big Tupac fan. It feels like a total betrayal. Snoop was actually one of my favorite rappers growing up too. While it's unclear if he had anything to do with the Tupac hit, it definitely sounds like he knew something about something, and at the very least, it's clear he spent the last 30 years rewriting history to protect his own brand. When you really strip away the corporate, mainstream Uncle Snoop image he's built with cooking shows, Olympics hosting, and commercial deals, and you look at the documented timeline of 1996, it becomes incredibly hard to reconcile the history with the stories he tells today. For a lot of foundational West Coast fans, that's where the real sense of betrayal sits. The reality is that Pac and Snoop were completely estranged by the time. Pac was killed in Las Vegas. The fallout wasn't a minor disagreement. It was a massive rift driven by street politics and loyalty. The documented contradictions. The shift in Snoop's narrative over the years is exactly why so many people are looking at old interviews with a critical eye when you cross-examine his stories against the accounts of the Outlaws, Death Row Security, and even Nas. A few major red flags stand out. The DJ Clue interview betrayal in October 1996, right after Pac dropped Hit 'Em Up and went all in on the East Coast, West Coast war. Snoop went on New York radio DJ Clue and stated he was cool with Biggie and Puff, declaring he loved their music. Tupac, who had survived being shot in New York and felt his life was constantly on the line. This wasn't just a difference of opinion. It was an active betrayal of the team. The plane ride cold shoulder. Multiple people who were around at the time, including members of the Outlaws, confirmed that on the flight back from the 1996 MTV Video Music Awards just days before Vegas, Pac refused to speak to Snoop, and security sat between them because the tension was so dangerous. Yet, in many of Snoop's modern retellings, he glosses over this hostility to paint a picture of unbroken brotherhood. The Nas confrontation story. Snoop has frequently told a dramatic story about Pac and Nas facing off in New York with 100 guys and guns drawn, claiming he had to step in or watch things turn deadly. However, Nas himself, along with several death row bodyguards who were physically present, later came out and stated Snoop's version was heavily fabricated, clarifying that Snoop wasn't even in the immediate circle when to actually talked it out and squashed their tension with respect. From street politics to corporate branding, while there is no concrete evidence linking Snoop directly to what happened in Vegas, the frustration for longtime fans comes from how he handled the aftermath. Instantly after Pac's passing, Snoop positioned himself as the heir to the narrative, even using Pac's likeness, AI vocals, and imagery to boost his own commercial ventures and Death Row rebrand decades later. It feels like a calculated move, maximizing the legendary status of a fallen friend for marketing, while erasing the reality that they were actively at odds when it mattered most. Seeing someone play both sides back then, only to profit off the legacy now, completely shatters that wholesome favorite uncle persona. It shows real hip-hop history and corporate revisionism.